Hello everyone. This is another vlog post of On the Narrow Path with Katrina McHide. It's been a busy couple of days between immigration stuff and working late. Been doing really well and enjoying my work, but I haven't got very much sleep. So I'm going to try to put my two brain cells left together and share things with you today. And I've had good days. It's just been a lot of work. So thankfully it's been nice. It's been a beautiful summer here. It got hot today, but I'm sure around the world actually I've seen some temperatures and everyone's kind of dealing with some heat right now. I kind of enjoy it though, because the cold is, I don't do well in cold. I like hot better. Everybody else is going, no, we want cold because you can put more on. So, getting off the weather, right? I have something. I had a friend who has a niece that is having struggles with the concept of God creating evil, so God must be bad. And that is a great question, because if you're on this path for any length of time and you're really trying to work things out, you run up against a wall of, is God 100% good or not? And depending on how you answer that question is how you can either be stuck in growing more in a relationship with God, or be able to get through it. I had this similar problem actually for decades and didn't even know it. I just knew that I had a hard time living because of all of the difficult things that I had grown up with. I thought that life was pretty awful. I didn't like it. And even the idea of eternal life did not thrill me. Now, many of you may have different opinions of that or feel scared about this topic because either, people that talk like this may sound suicidal, and they may be suicidal. And that brings a lot of fear to a lot of people. Or actually, there are some things inside you that you've been resisting looking at because you're only supposed to look at the good stuff and maybe not directly look at what you think about if God is evil or not because he created evil. This is something that I'm bringing to the front because really, until you answer this question, it really taints your relationship with God. It just will. And the most basic problem with the question is that you answer it off of faith. Yeah. What that means is you get to answer that question, and really no one can prove to you whether your answer is correct or not. You get to decide what it is, but based on how you answer it is how you will feel about life, about living, about being aware and conscious, and about everything around you, who you are, what's going on in the world, who God is. Everything is tainted by this. People don't like it. I've said it before, but really, I say that you come up with beliefs by faith. Either way, you're going to have beliefs by faith. You can't stop it. There's no way. But you might as well make them good, because you'll be a lot happier doing so. So we're going to look at this a little bit, and I'm going to share with you, coming out of severe depression, what I had to prove for myself and decide for myself to get out of severe depression. And you can decide if this makes sense for you or not, or if you want to believe something different. You get to pick. It's all up to you. It's your free will. And also, I'd like to get into why God might have created both good and evil, and the purposes for that. So what I'm going to go to is back to Genesis, right? So we know that in Genesis, God created a garden and put man in it, and he put in the tree of life and a ton of other trees, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. many times when we hear the word evil, we have certain perceptions based on our English way of using the word evil. And it's not incorrect. It does mean bad and terrible and calamity and all these wonderful things. The original Hebrew word has some of those similar ideas, but in truth, the word is ra in Hebrew, and it is translated more like calamity, distress, adversity, grief, affliction, misery, trouble, and hurt. So he made peace, and according to Isaiah chapter 45 verse 7, it says that God formed the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Jehovah, do all these things, right? So when you look at this and it says, I make peace and create evil, you go, that's right. You made the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So you're bad because look at everybody that's suffering here. It's all God's fault that everyone is suffering here. That's what we come to, and that is what we are thinking in our mentality. And even so, we try to appease the God in a sense when we come from that place, because we can be afraid of him, that he has so much power that he could do something good or bad to us. And so we have a fearful way of going to him instead of trusting him fully as God is love, which we're told that's the full definition. So how do you do with these mixed messages? How do you deal with it? It brings a lot of confusion and what I call double-mindedness. In other words, double-mindedness is having at least two different ideas, opposite ideas, or similar, close to opposite ideas that you're holding on to at the same time. And so it makes you unstable, because sometimes you say God is good and sometimes you say God is bad, emotionally speaking, and inside you have that struggle of what to do with those concepts. And that can create a lot of fear, a lot of disillusionment, and depression. I had to come to terms with this, and from what I can tell, from looking at it myself, if I go back to the garden and I think about how Adam and Eve were created, they weren't created like a computer, right? So as we know, a computer, you input information and it uses zeros and ones to calculate, and it outputs exactly what you put in. It was developed by the programs to do in and out. I know everyone's going to artificial intelligence and that sort of thing. I don't think we're, we don't have necessarily a soul in artificial intelligence, although we have great movies about it. But the basic idea of being able to be truly alive, as we know, is to be able to have choice, is to be able to not only have choice, but to make choices. So if we were created in God's image, and God is a creator, if Jehovah is a creator, and we're created in his likeness and image, then some of the creative power, in order to have creative power, you have to have choices, right? Should it be blue or red? Should it be big or small? And everything in between, right? So we have to have those concepts, actually, even to know that we exist. So I have to be able to say, okay, this is me and that's you. So you have to have make choices about what colors we look like. We may be different colors, or hair colors, eye colors, all that stuff. We get to choose. Like some people will say my eyes are green, and others will say that they're blue. And depending on the day, each one of you would be right. So that's how we get creativity. That's how we build things, is with creativity in the same way. So it's important to have choices. Now, why did God allow there to be, why did he create both good and evil? If you go here, first of all, at the very beginning, Adam and Eve only knew what God shared with them. He walked in the garden with them day by day and was with them all the time, and they had everything cush, and they didn't make a choice of something different based off of what God said. God said to do certain things. The only thing that they couldn't do is eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but they were blessed to take care of the garden and take care of the earth and the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and all the creatures. So they had things to do. And they got to, Adam got to name all the animals. That was creative process that Father had put within him. So you first of all, you have to have the ability to create, which is, like I said, through being able to have choices. And then you have to have choices. So if we don't have choice, to love, like if we want to love or not, or if we want to trust or not, then we're pretty robotic. There's not much you can do with that. But if we have the opportunity to decide if we want to do something that leads to loving God with our whole heart, might, and soul because He created such a beautiful thing, and loving our neighbor as ourselves for the love of God, that brings the peace. Excuse me. In Isaiah 45 verse 7 that I was talking about, I make peace and create evil. Well, peace comes from love. It comes from everybody choosing a respectful way of interacting, even though everyone has the creative power to do something different. Everyone chooses instead to live in a way that's respectful, orderly, that helps build and creates a space for creativity together in a safe way. Now, we can also choose to manipulate and control and to destroy and to be more concerned about ourselves than everyone else, or more concerned about one person or thing more than ourselves and everyone else. We can choose all these different ways that can go wrong. When we do that, it falls outside of loving God with your whole heart, might, and soul, and loving your neighbors yourself. It creates what we see, calamity. It creates the heartaches that we have on this earth right now. When we don't trust God any longer, that's what Satan taught us, in a sense. Satan told Eve, you can't really trust God and His word. You can't really trust that He's good. He's holding something from you. He's withholding things from you that you should have. You should be like God in being able to decide what is good and evil for yourself. Before that time, their knowledge was of just good. As soon as they ate the tree, they made a choice. You can look at it in many different ways. Some people think, well, the tree changed them. It's possible. For now, though, I'm kind of simple. I like to keep it simple. I believe that what happened is by the act of saying, I don't trust God anymore, and He's keeping something from me, and thinking like that, like Satan, the serpent, did in the garden, changed their perception of everything. Because before, they always had trusted Him. Before, they'd always had happiness, peace, and joy. But as soon as you let go of trust to a good God, then all of a sudden everything is terrifying and you're hiding behind the bushes. Not only are you hiding behind the bushes, but you're pushing other people in front of you because you're so afraid of God, because He might not be fully good. So we see this pushing people in front through what Adam and Eve did. So, Adam said, well, the woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit and I did eat. So it's like pushing the woman in front. And the woman took the cue and went, okay, let's do this again. The serpent beguiled me, and he's the one that told me to eat, and I ate. So you can see the pile-on of just the fear of God that goes on. Now, how do we deal with coming out of the unhealthy fear of God? It's a choice. It's a choice of believing something different. And there's no way to prove, like I said, to anyone else, I decided that God was 100% good. I chose to believe that. Now everyone can say, well, how about all the aborted babies, and how about the people living in Africa that are starving to death, and how we're nearly destroying ourselves on this planet, and all the negative things that each of us may have experienced growing up. How could God allow such heinous things? He's allowing it, from my perception, with the faith that I'm choosing to have in what I believe, and you have faith in whatever you believe. I'm not trying to change your beliefs. I'm just trying to share with you something that could make you happier in the end of this life, to feel more in control. Because if there is not a good God, if God is not 100% good, if Jehovah is not 100% good, then life is scary for you, because he may not be good to you. And that's why people reject him. And you're out of control, which you are anyway. God is higher than you are, and we don't like to be out of control. And so we live a life and we continue to think that we're in control, and that we have more control by believing that God doesn't exist, or we feel like we have more control in saying, well, I can't see that God exists, so I'll just just do the best I can to be a good person, which is, it's fine. I'm not against any of those, because Father gives you free will on purpose. God gives you free will to be able to live the way you want to live, and see what happens by doing it that way and having a full human experience. And thankfully, since we fell, this life is temporary. And thankfully, if you want to go back to understanding I would want it to be temporary. Things deteriorating because of evil, because of the fallen nature of us hurting each other, and then Satan helping out and everything else. I don't want to live like this for eternity. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in living like this for eternity. It's a good life, and at the same time, I'm glad that all of this will pass, and we'll get back to the goodness. Everything will be restored, right, when Christ returns. So that's what our hope is for, that everything will go back to before we all fell and decided to do it our own way. We did it our way. We're seeing what happens when we do it our own way. And then we can be convinced that the only thing that's going to work is to trust God and love him, that he created everything good, and to be able to treat each other respectfully, as God says over and over. That's when the Messiah, if you read the Gospels over and over again, that's all the Messiah is teaching over and over again, is to love your neighbor as yourself for the love of God. It's over and over. Even your enemies, even those that are being evil. So it's very hard to do, I know, but it's the only path that has the possibility of bringing peace and happiness in the end. Now when God uses evil, brings calamity on people and that sort of thing, he does it in order out of love, which he knows at a higher level, since he created everything. He does it out of love so that we can keep this life going long enough to have these lessons that we have, because truly we would have killed each other off and killed the world off even faster if he doesn't step in and stop certain events and certain people groups and other things from going full on ballistic. And the truth is, all of us have the capability of going full on ballistic, and our attitudes of rebellion, and also just having an attitude of I just think God is awful because of this. That right there is part of the reason of God's goodness. He reigns on the wicked and the righteous, and those that are in rebellion, as well as those that are obedient, because we're trying to figure it out. And it's okay to be figuring it out. It's just that you're going to be totally and absolutely miserable as long as you continue to choose by faith to have certain belief systems that try to say that either God does not exist, so everything is random and you're out of control, or that God does exist, but he's partly evil and you can't fully trust him. That's really scary. So the only thing that makes sense, that brings happiness and joy, is to believe that there is a creator God that created everything, that is above time, and that created everything perfect, and allowed us to have all the experiences that we have and all the choices we have, so that we can learn what works and doesn't work, and bring us back to him. He wants us. He wants us to come back to him. He didn't leave us. We left him because of fear. So now he's showing through the Messiah that he's going the extra step through the Messiah, sending his firstborn son, so that way you can see how much he just wants you to come back. So you don't have to hide behind the trees and sew fig leaves, that you can come back in communion with him and walk in the Garden of Eden in a spiritual sense right now. So that's the hope. And I hope this really helps, because it's really important to stop and ask these questions. I'm really impressed with this young lady who asked this question of my girlfriend, the niece of my girlfriend, because really, until you can answer this question, you're on unstable ground. The rock cannot exist unless you understand it's 100% true. It's something you can hook onto. It's 100% love. If you don't have that, everything else falls and crumbles and is building a house on sand. I've learned that by experience. And so I hope this helps to give you an idea of what you might want to choose by faith to believe. And then all the other beliefs that are inside you, that are fighting to be heard, to be able to put out those fires with the one thing that you truly choose to believe in. It's your choice. It's inconvenient, but you choose. No one else can choose it for you. I hope this helps. And I'd love to hear your comments if this helped you, or if I could say something and expand something to help even more. Give me comments on escapeallthesethings.com if you like, off of our email, or right here on YouTube. You can give comments as well. You just have to scroll down a little bit. You can also subscribe to the channel and be able to know when I put up new things. And if you click on the bell, you've heard it before, you can know when I put up new content. Anyway, I'm so happy to be with you and just spend this time with you and share things from my heart that have helped me and possibly can help you through whatever misery you have, to be able to find true joy. And even in the middle of hard things, I mean, like I'm doing this very, very tired, but I have joy and peace. You know, I'm having a human experience and things are falling apart. You know, and yet I can still have joy. You have more joy the more that you believe that everything in the end will work out for good, even if you can't understand how. Okay? All right, so blessings to you all. And yeah. I think I did it. I think I put this one together finally. And I did it in 23 minutes instead of 3 to 5 hours. I'm impressed. All right. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Love you all, and may you be blessed, and may you find your peace and your joy and come out of the calamity and the misery of whatever you're experiencing. Maybe what you're going through you can't change, but how you go through it can change based on what you decide to think about it. All right. Yehovah bless you and keep you.